Hello, Tribers. Welcome back to another episode of Tribing. We trust that you are enjoying all our other videos and please engage with us. Continue to like, to share, and to subscribe to our channel, Tribing. Today, I am with a guest that one of the newspaper articles, the Mail and Guardian, describes as follows. Although he seems talkative, he's an introvert. He is lost in his head, consistently wondering about who he is and what exactly the world is about. He is talkative only because he wants answers for the millions of questions he's asking himself. He is a philosopher who uses art to express his thoughts and questions. Please join me in welcoming our important guest who is always in his head having millions of questions. And we hope today we are going to engage him on some of those questions. Please let's welcome Masai Sipuru to the studio. Welcome, Masai.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
We are glad to have you. And please tell us more about who you are.
My name is Masai Sipuru. I am an artist from the province of Limpopo, born and raised. I am a theater maker as well. I am a fine artist and I do music. So, yeah, I'm a multidisciplinary artist in general. So, yeah, that's basically what I am and who I am.
And when did you know or when did you become aware that you are an artist? Take us through the journey from your childhood.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to become an artist?
I've always been an artist. It's not something that I discovered or like a specific day. I think there's kids that kids draw and they like coloring books. I love doing that.
Okay.
Kids draw and they during art classes. I loved doing that. Kids tell stories and
Yes.
so whatever that involved the arts, even in my upbringing, is things that are sort of gravitated towards, and it has always been that case. So it was sort of something that is quite undeniable in my coming up. So I never really, when people ask me like, when did you become an artist? The answer is that, well, I didn't necessarily become an artist. I just didn't become anything else, right? I've always been an artist. I believe the same with other people, like scientists. I think it's something, it is a curiosity that just you're born with and never really dies. Same with the art, it's something that it's a curiosity that you carry on, and you could either abandon it by becoming something else, or you could see where it takes you. And either of the roads is wrong, right? Given the complexities of the world that we're living in. So if you choose to go never really against it, but separate from it, you have your own reasons and they're all valid for sure. And if you stick with it, you also have your own reasons. And yeah, so I've always been an artist. There's never been like a day one. I think a day one is when I was born, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So what kind of art are you or is it a medium? What kind of art medium do you express yourself through?
Specifically, when you're speaking of that part of my life, fine art, I work with acrylics on canvas. I think also because of like the pace of which I create, I have moments where I create very quickly, and I have moments where it takes me a while. So acrylics, the pace at which they dry sort of accommodates that style. I can do all, obviously. I can do oil, I can do water, but the problem with oil for me is that it takes long to dry, especially when I'm in that space where I really want to paint. And yeah, so I use mostly like acrylics on canvas. But if requested, or if it's something that I can see I would require more time on it, I can sit on it with a oil for that reason. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who are you really speaking to through your art, and what message are you conveying through your art?
To myself first. I think I'm the first audience of my art. I'm speaking mostly to myself. I'm interrogating the life that I live, the people to whom I live with, um, the people I fall in love with, the people that fall in love with me, the people that raised me, my community. And it just so happens that my experience isn't necessarily unique to me in that way, that people actually also relate to those experiences to which I write about, I paint, right? I do not go out of my way to try to depict other people or other things for people's sake. It's for me, and which is beautiful because then it's always interesting to see someone who relates to the work as much as I relate to it, or they find something in the art that I did not initially see myself, right? Because as much as artists are viewed as these antennas, we are also like portals. So yeah, exactly, antennas or portals, whichever way you look at it. At the end of the day, we are receivers of something, right? And that something either comes, not even either. It's not something that thing comes through us, and there isn't a way for me to say that it's fully my idea from like start to finish. So there are some things within the art itself that I, the creator, or I, the antenna, I, the portal, sometimes miss. And someone else is like, hey, did you notice that you're using these colors repeatedly in this way? And then now I tilt my head, it's like, I am using those colors, aren't I? You know, and then, brings a new questions, and then goes on and goes on.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued by what you're saying when you say something comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And for me that would be inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think we are all inspired one
sure.
way or the other, but I think we don't get to be curious
Yeah.
enough to want to interrogate, that inspiration. And I think that inspiration forms a lot of our dreams, forms a lot of what we are passionate about in life. And maybe sometimes, maybe because we are scared of the unknown, we don't know if we dig deeper and want to know more about that inspiration, where it will lead us.
Yes.
Because we have become so sanitized
Yeah.
from our connection with that something which we call by so many names. We can label it God, we can label it the universe,
Yeah.
but there is a source of all the inspiration
Yeah.
that indeed we get to be inspired by, and to just have the courage to pursue the inspiration. And by so doing, we find our purpose. I mean, you were curious enough to want to understand your inspiration, and you expressed your curiosity through art, which is something that I believe we all have, if we only have the courage to explore that inspiration and see where it leads us in expressing the creativity within all of us, because all of us are creators, if you think about it. So where do you normally expose or exhibit your art? Where can we find you if we are looking for you? And what is the role of art? Maybe before where we can find you, what is the role of art in our everyday lives, according to you?
I think art's role is an opportunity for people to pause. I think we live the types of lives where everything is happening all at once, and which is why we have multiple artists, because they are responsible to capture specific moments or specific ideas. Where when you look at the thing, it forces you to pause and really interrogate what that thing means or what that experience meant for you. I think we, as people, we do not have an opportunity to capture things in that way, capture things in a poem, in a painting, in a play. That's where we come in. We allow time to slow down and for us to really reflect what we are going through, what we have went through, and what we aspire to be. So that's sort of like one of the core roles is to freeze time and really allow us to like take things in. Another role, obviously, is to be a mirror of the society, to reflect that which the society is going through. and also to shine light on dark corners. Artists tend to go into those places to which most of us are afraid to go, and then they come out with a beautiful line, a beautiful poem, a beautiful painting, and help us to face our own dark corners using those paintings, those lines, those plays as light, as illumination, right? So once you enter those spaces, once you enter your own dark corners, you now have a tool, which is an art piece, a poem, a song, to help you face that. So that's also another role that art plays, right? It is it's artist ability to brave and go beyond the hill and report back to us like, yeah, what's going on that side. We might need to prepare ourselves for 1, 2, 3. We are thinkers, we are philosophers, we are myth makers, because it's very important. Again, I think it is like you're right. Everybody's a creator at their core, but it's because we live a very busy life. Very, everybody has to pay rent, get married, deal with the divorce, children, commute. All of these things. We need those amongst us who are mostly preoccupied with capturing and recording and archiving, which is another important thing, which is archiving who we are. And I might actually butcher myself because there's something I said a while back about like art is humans' way of just avoiding death in a way, because once I've captured you, what I've written about you, you will effectively live forever in that thing. So that's what art is. That's what it also is as an thing you archive. It is really just avoiding death, right? We know of the history of these people because they were captured, mostly also artistically. Whether you look at like religious figures like Jesus Christ, or Egyptian gods, or Roman gods, or Greek gods, or African gods, we know them, they exist, or because someone took time to capture and archive them. Their mortality and their presence right now heavily relies on artists' ability to capture them, poets' ability to write uh, songs about them. Yeah. So there's multiple roles, but those are key to capture, to archive, to pause time, to interrogate, for sure.
Yeah, and the archiving is very important because it creates memory.
Yeah.
And memory sustains
Yes.
concepts,
Exactly.
sustains ideas,
Sustains culture, yes.
sustains culture.
Yeah.
And would you say though that we the memory that we have as a people, because I know your art focuses also on the history of our Black
Yeah.
people. Do you think that that memory is evolving or
Yeah.
is stagnant, and how is it serving us from what we've come to know
Yeah.
about our history as a people?
I think it doesn't matter what you believe. Everything evolves, everything changes, everything grows. That's due to many factors, of course. The times that we're in, the climate changes, people move away, people move in. The world is becoming sort of like this unique culture because of the presence of the internet. People are reading Russian philosophers, Eastern philosophy. People are engaged in Christianity, Muslim, to which both of them are not originally from at least this part of the world. People's ethos and belief system, they're always and constantly challenged. So change and evolutions, those are inevitable and necessary, right? There was something that I was thinking about, the idea of forgetting, and if we are talking about a God or a creator who created people, why was it necessary for the Creator to instill forgetfulness within us. And I think that is from the Creator's understanding that you cannot hold on to these things, or you shouldn't hold on to these things forever. Some shedding is important, some letting go is important, because you have to make rooms for new understanding, right? And for you to have a fixed idea of the world or fixed idea of the reality, you are then becoming a statue that does not move forward, that does not move backward, that does not change. It's sort of like fixed in place, and you will be looked upon as a relic of the past, and that's fine. That's the role that you want to play, but that does not necessarily. It doesn't stand with what history has proven, that cultures evolve, people, language evolve as well. We're speaking in English language. If this podcast was maybe like a few hundred years ago, we would have been speaking a different language. If this podcast is in a few hundred years into the future, we'll be speaking a different language, just because culture and language and people, it's all fluid. It all mixes and freezes and expands and contracts. Those are inevitable ways of whether you want to look at it through the lens of colonization, or they want to look at through the lens of whatever. People will move. That's inevitable. People will shift. Cultures will collide. People will discover new spices to enhance their food. People will teach. Right? It's important. Otherwise, that which doesn't change again becomes stagnant and dies. And and again, I'm not looking at death as something wrong. It is also part of it.
It's a process.
It's a
of
process
life.
of it, right? That's what I said when you asked me. The first thing I said was that it doesn't really matter. It's gonna happen despite your belief. Yeah.
Yeah, and evolution is the concept or the idea of evolution it forms one of our pillars as tribe being, because we are about shifting perceptions, shifting perceptions about the self. Because for a very long time, as a people, we have focused on ourselves as physical beings, and we've ignored our essence, our spiritual aspect and our soul being aspects, which are very important to align to the body, because everything starts in the essence, the soul, the spirit, and then the body. And all of us, through all the different kinds of work we do, by saving in our passion, because there's work and then there's passion. Everything that you do with a passion, it's something that expresses and extends and expands who you are. So what I'm trying to say is that anything, like you said, everything evolves. And if we don't evolve in our beliefs, in our culture, we become stagnant and we die, and also, like you said, death is not permanent. Death is a process of life.
Part of it,
so you can choose to die and remain dead, or you can allow yourself to die and re-emerge as something better, something at a higher, that vibrates at a higher frequency. So we are all about that. We are all about shifting perceptions and really expanding awareness about the self. And I also like what you said about art playing a role to help us to pause. But what I've seen and heard is that a lot of us do not make the time to pause. And I think that is also expressed by some artists whose work is not really being taken seriously, or you organize a theater play or something and the audience doesn't pitch up. It's because people just don't see or we don't see the art as something that can play that role in our lives to just get us to pause. I think, would you say that is changing? Would you say that is a correct perspective on my part to say the arts are maybe not as attractive as they used to be in earlier days, like music, different kinds of, different genres of music seems to be dying a slow death. And that is because people are looking for something, quicker, faster, more fashionable, more trendy. So what would you say to that? That maybe the role of art is not recognized as strongly as maybe it used to be in the past?
For sure. I think the problem if you look at it from that perspective, is that when you look at other things aside from like the arts, and you look at like medicine, and you look at like law, and you look at like any other sort of careers that also are passion driven, you'd find that they are also aided by the governments of that country. So if a government or the leaders of that country, let me not use governments loosely, but if the leaders of that country neglect the arts, the rest of the people will do the same. When you're giving an example of like other countries or other artists that seem to be appreciating art, it seems like a big factor is that the leaders of that country also appreciate and they appreciate the arts, right? So people tend to follow. So that's one. Another thing is that when we talk about like the idea of pausing, pausing also requires an opportunity to pause, right? The state of the economy, the state of the country sometimes doesn't give people that privilege of pausing, because you constantly have to go somewhere, go to work, have lunch and meetings and go work, pick up kids. So they have not created an environment that allows people to freeze and pause. Those moments you must steal for yourself, because we're not giving room for that anymore. And let us not put too much weight on people's disinterest in the art on them. I think the weight is on the leadership of those people. Are they giving permission to pause and reflect and go to a gallery or go to a theater, right? What contribution could the leaders do to allow people to go consume this thing, right? If I'm having a play tonight at 7 and you are knocking off at 6, the odds that you're gonna come watch my play are very slim, because you're tired, right? And so, which means whatever you were doing during the day doesn't give you permission or doesn't give you a chance to pause and come watch a play. Also, you're thinking about like tomorrow, you're thinking about your finances, you're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about the wars that are going, because that also disrupt your frequency. You're thinking about the countless corrupt things that are happening in our parliament that we are all constantly on display. You're thinking about the xenophobic attacks that are in the country. So your mind isn't given an opportunity to sit and think. So for me to then blame you for not liking art, it will be very disingenuous of me, because then I'm not factoring in the fact that you are very, very distracted, right? And that's why it's very important then to purchase art for me to convince. I can convince you to buy art, because you can come in and can be in your home, and once you look at it, it then forces you to pause, right? It gives you an opportunity to steal that time for yourself with this thing and really reflect. So it's easy for me and for us to say people should buy more art, but again, giving its cost, because it's not free, right? Giving the cost, giving the time we're showcasing these things, all of that thing requires an intervention by the leaders, a recorrecting of that culture. These things shouldn't only fall on the people. Yeah.
So would you say, maybe, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I agree to some extent
Yeah.
with what you're saying. However, what would you say about the element of choice, that
Yeah.
because of the certain choices that we make in life,
Yeah.
we therefore then cannot fulfill
Yeah.
all aspects of our lives, because it is easy to always look outside yourself for
Yeah.
the reasons why your life is the way it is.
Yes.
But what choices are you then making
Yeah.
to sort of change that, to
Yeah.
sort of seek different for yourself? Because one thing for sure, no, if the government is not interested in the arts,
Yeah.
they're not interested. They're not going to elevate you or work towards making sure that people have got time for
Yes.
arts. But at the end of the day, what do you say about individual responsibility of the choices that
Yeah.
we make about how the kind of lives that we want to live? Because I find that sometimes we also put ourselves under pressure
Yeah.
because of how life has been set up
Yeah.
for us, but we have sort of outsourced the choice to say, even though this is how life has been set out for me
Yeah.
by outside factors, I choose different for myself.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that why is it so difficult to be real and to be unique and to be yourself and
Yeah.
choose and engender that power to choose for ourselves?
It's beautiful to aspire for choice, and there is plenty of it in our lives. But I'll give you this example. I think in 2010, the South African World Cup, we had a great World Cup. I think it was the first time a lot of us went to a stadium to watch football match. I think it was the first time some of us watched a football match from start to finish. Football was not introduced in South Africa in 2010. However, it is because that's what I'm saying. I'm very reluctant to say government, but to say leadership, right? But because of the leadership of the country at the time that introduced, that fought to get that World Cup to come to South Africa, and most of us were like, "Wait, this thing has been playing since I've known football, but now they created opportunities for me to really sit with it and look at it and either appreciate it and fall in love going forward, or it was just a moment." But a lot of us also, I mean, myself included, I was not necessarily like a soccer fan before 2010. I actually hated it because it seemed boring. It took too long, and they would just go back and forth for 90 minutes, and there's one goal. I didn't really get what the point of it all. But once your country is scoring that goal, and it's like, we really have to like hold on, make sure nobody scores, and all of that excitement and that all of that education about that football. I'm using it again as an example loosely. It was because of the leaderships. It's their attempt of introducing that sports to us, right? Same with rugby. Well, most of us don't even watch rugby unless there's a World Cup that is happening and the Springboks are winning or whatever. So you have all the choice you have to watch rugby now. But once the again leadership of a specific community are saying we're going to be hosting this thing, then your eyes sort of move. You tend to choose the thing as though it is new. This thing has always been here, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that it takes away. I'm not taking away anyone's responsibility or anyone's choice by when I'm saying that the leadership must intervene. But it's very evident that when they do decide to intervene, attention seems to shift towards that thing better. You can, in your own capacity, do that, and that's for sure you can do that. But it does help to even you as a mother, you decide what breakfast you're serving at home, right? Your kids could choose to eat anything, but they eat what's at home, right? You didn't take away their choice. They could say we don't want to eat this, but most of the time they're going to eat what's at home. What's home. What you can do as a leader of that home, you can introduce different types of breakfast, let them choose, and then stick to that one. So it's very important to acknowledge that uh, choice is also influenced by the choices that are given. So you can say that people can choose to love art, but if art isn't in their options or things to choose, then you know what I mean. So if you live in a remote area in the province, in wherever, right? What choice do you have? Let's say if you choose to go to an art gallery, what art gallery? So it's only by the leadership's decision to put an art gallery there that now choosing an art gallery is an option for you, right? So you must have the leadership must and again, leadership, not governments, could be parents, could be community leaders, you could be the leader of yourself, but the leadership's responsibility is to make sure that it gives the people the options so they can have things to choose, right? So those options are often not necessarily free, or they are beyond your own they are beyond your own efforts. And I give the last example, I know I've been rambling, is that it's only last year or the year before in the entire province of Limpopo, they're building a theater. You know, like if you want to watch a theater in Limpopo, what are you doing? It's not even in your options. You have to now travel. You have to now, you know what I mean? Some people, for them to choose theater, you can't choose something to which you do not even know it exists, right? The first time I watched a play was at this traveling theater group. They came to our school and then they performed, and you could see kids experiencing acting for the first time, like in real time. There was this guy, I forgot his name. He was acting drunk, like he was as far from you as as you are now, and he was drunk. And then the show ended, and then he stood up and people were like, he's fine. And he was drunk, and people were like, I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know you could choose to do that. So you're right that an individual can have choices, but choices require options, and options often require intervention by someone else. If you walk around in the old township of South Africa, there's lots of abandoned tennis courts. There was the leaders of the time to see tennis as a viable sport, but our new leaders didn't see it as a viable sport, and then they didn't take initiative to make sure that tennis could be played and to be seen as a profession. But those things exist; they're there, right? It's if my sister or my brother now decides to become a tennis player, something has to intervene. So some choice requires options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a very long.
Yeah.
It needs much more time than we have for
Yeah.
today. But I think it raises a lot of other questions about how we perceive life as a people, because and it goes back to how we're brought up, how we're socialized, how we're made to believe in our limitations as people. Because, like I said, I go back to saying that I think we have outsourced our power. You know, we have outsourced our choices, options, decisions to our leaders. And we are looking upon them to be our saviors. And I think that's one of the things why I'm so passionate about doing what I'm doing, to have this kind of conversations, to have to share information about shifting perspective. Because if we are going to remain stagnant in a mindset that says somebody else must do it for me in this particular format, we're not going to get away. Because I always talk to people who care to listen to me, because I talk a lot sometimes. I always say that we all have potential, untapped potential within us, but we are so scared of tapping into the potential because it doesn't speak to the so-called reality that we see with our eyes, And I always say that if you were to take 10 or 20 graduates, or they don't have to be graduates, just 10 people who are sitting at home with an excuse or with the reason that they are unemployed, and you drop them off somewhere in a jungle, those people are going to come up with so many ideas of what to do to survive in that environment that you'll be putting you'll be putting them in. So it's very important to start shifting that mindset that somebody else must do something. For example, you are an artist. Nothing stops you from going into a village and giving art classes. But you cannot do that forever because you also need to make a living. So I think there needs to be some sort of a balance to say, yes, I'm doing this for a living, but I'm doing this to also elevates others and help others, help young kids to realize that art is a way of making a living too. And
Yes.
I have the potential. Everybody, I believe, everybody has got a potential for something.
Yes.
But because of the socialization, and that is what you and I are trying to convey a message that we need to shift
Yeah.
our perspective. We cannot be hanging on to the stagnation, especially as people of color.
Yeah.
You know, we've got so much potential. But I think because of our history, we have been sanitized to believe that somebody else can do it better.
Yeah.
Somebody else, and it speaks to a lot of other things, belief systems that we hold, you know, that somebody else, we're waiting for a savior
Yes.
to come and rescue us, and nobody's coming. You know, nobody's coming. I'm sorry to say this, but there's nobody coming to save us.
Yes.
We have been created in the image, in the blueprint of a very powerful force
Yes.
that exists within us.
Yes.
It is us to now get out of our uncomfortable comfort zones,
Yes.
you know, and seek to understand this power that is within us and try then to level it or parallel it
Yes.
to the existing reality that we see with our eyes. Because I don't believe that this is it. We're not helpless.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just, and that's why I'm passionate about this work. I want to share the little experience and knowledge that I have to try and you know, cause a shift in people's mind.
Yeah.
And it might be upsetting sometimes because, you know, some of the things that we say, some of the things that you paint, there are people maybe who look at your painting and say, but
Why?
what is he saying here?
What is he even saying?
But
Yeah.
for somebody who pause,
Yes.
who stands and pauses and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. And that's what we need to do. We need to start to get out of our comfort zones
Yes.
and really explore our own inner
Yes.
potential and power. I at least that's what I think that's what all of us should be working
yeah.
towards. Because honestly, to sit back and think that somebody's coming to save
Nobody's
us,
coming,
it's nobody's coming.
Nobody's
It's
coming,
really God has already given us everything that we need. We need to be curious enough.
Yes.
Like you said, that, you know, you've always been a curious kid.
Yeah.
And you need to be curious enough and to be brave enough to have the courage to follow what you discover. Don't, you know, sometimes people are so scared. You just put your foot in the water and you feel the water cold and you pull out.
Yes.
Kanti, if you go in, all
warmer,
in,
yeah.
it gets warmer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has helped me also in life to say that which scares me
Yeah.
has got potential for me
Yeah.
to actually succeed and survive in whatever it is that I'm pursuing, to get the answers to the questions that I
True.
have, which leads me to my next question to you.
Yeah.
So what are the three questions on top of your mind as you have, as it is said that you have millions of questions about life?
Yeah.
What would you say are the top three questions you have on top of your mind about life, about...
I think for me, one of the questions that has been plaguing me just of recent is the idea of cruelty. How people could be cruel towards each other, and where's the source of that thing? If we are, like you're saying, we are product of a higher being, a higher frequency, a higher dimension, different place. Is cruelty something that we found here? Is something that we came with? Is it a result of congestion? Is it a result of lack of hunger? What is it? Because it has shown its teeth throughout history. It's not a new thing. This idea of like the lack of accountability. You see, especially in our country, our problems are very, very evident of where they are, what is the cause of them, right? It is white supremacy, it is patriarchy, it is corruption. Those are things that are holding the country hostage. However, our response to it seems to direct somewhere else, on ourselves, by drinking excessively, on our children, on our women, and on our neighbors, and on people who came here seeking asylum. So we know what the problem is. We know what needs to be done, but we seem to direct that to ourselves. And that's something that I'm very curious of. Like, is it something that is sort of innate with us? Did we come with it? Did we find it here? Is it inevitable? Right? Is it something that we can't avoid? So yeah, these that I'm asking that question a lot.
And have you found at
No,
least an
I'm
answer? You're still
no,
asking.
no. I'm still asking it. I don't have an answer to this one because I don't understand it. I don't understand our inability to pause, right, and really ask ourselves to what end. What is this desire to self-destruct? Because it is self-destruction, right? If you're going out of your way to kill someone that looks like you, it's only a matter of time someone that looks like you also finds you as a threat, right? It's an endless loop of violence, and I'm curious, and also I'm very curious, like what happens uh, afterwards, right? What's the resolution? Which also is my next question. Question number 2 is like, what's next? What is my role in all of this? Because I am an artist. I'm looking at a canvas. I'm looking at a paper, a blank paper, a blank canvas. They are both looking back at me, and I feel like I have to like have a role in all of this, in how we're moving as a people, as a country. But everything that I'm trying to write, it seems to hit that wall of why are we like this, right? What is our distaste of other people when the problem is very evident? It's right there. It's not a secret anymore. We know why. We know what's the problem. Why are we not working together to resolve that issue, right? And then, which lead me to my third and last question, which also they're all the same question,
Yeah,
really.
they're interlinked.
Yeah, they're all interlinked about whether or not this is simply who we are. And it's a very difficult question to ask because I'm afraid that the answer might be yes. And this idea of Ubuntu was an first philosophy upon us. And maybe inversely, we are something completely different because we have the Ubuntu as our philosophy, as a thing that is attached to us, but only lately it seemed to be only in paper. Maybe it is something that was thrown to us, suggested to us, but we haven't been living, with it.
We haven't interrogated it
haven't
enough to understand what it means for
But
us.
if it's us and if it's who we are, the interrogation shouldn't even be like, it should come natural. We shouldn't. It doesn't. It shouldn't require interrogation. The fact that it requires interrogation is what frightens me, right? If something, I don't have to interrogate that I am light skinned. I have a very light skin. It doesn't. It's right here, right? Someone can tell me like, no, but you're dark skinned. Like, I'm looking at it. I know what I am. But why do I need to interrogate what Ubuntu is? Because the way it is preached to us, it is preached as though it is something that is us. But is it us? So that's scary. And then obviously a lot of people will say, yes, it is us. Fine. Why are we misaligning with it? Right? What is the force? What is the thing that pushes us away from it? Now we are having a different conversation. Because right now, whether you're looking at it as like femicide, xenophobia, alcohol abuse, children abuse, all of these things don't seem to align with Ubuntu, and all of those things, all of those labels seem to stick to us quite comfortably, right? You would not be hard pressed to say that there is a lot of murder in South Africa, right? That doesn't require investigation at all. That just requires, yes, there is. But when you're speaking of Ubuntu, that somehow requires investigation, which means it's something that is either we're separated from or we were never that thing to begin with. And if we were never that thing to begin with, then how do we then introduce it truly into our lives? right? How do we reintroduce it into our lives such that it then becomes us? Then we are separated from all these other isms and all these other, bigotry ideas that seem to be aligned with us in a way. Because anyone who, if we are people of Ubuntu, we shouldn't be struggling with this much corruption, because I would assume that the leaders are also of the Ubuntu, philosophy. Clearly, they're not, because no one who behaves and moves like that have any type of Ubuntu within them. Nobody who consumes that much drugs and alcohol and steals and robs and rapes has Ubuntu. And that requires then the reintroduction of that thing. But is the thing being reintroduced or introduced? If it's being reintroduced, which means it was there and then it wasn't, why did it go away? But if it's being introduced, which means we've always been flawed, we are trying to learn a new thing. Those two require different approaches. I do not know which it is, whether it's something that we've always been and it is taken away from us and thus we are misaligned, or it is something new that we must now align ourselves with, because violence isn't new in our lives. And I'm not those people. I try to not be those people who overly romanticize the pre-colonial Africa, right? We had our own problems as before white people arrived. We had our own conflict and our own rivalries, maybe not as gruesome as theirs, maybe not as systematic as theirs, but they were there, and yeah, it's a question that I'm asking. It's a question that I'm walking through, and maybe it requires a more in-depth study of the Bantu people, the Bantu history. There's a poem that I wrote recently. It's just called "Women of Intu," but it speaks to women of Intu people, women of Intu, men of Intu, and children of Intu. And yeah, it's on my Substack right now. It's basically just acknowledging the traumas, the pains that we are all going through individually, and how we are somehow seems to be the cause of those problems, because we are neglecting, not neglecting, we are so forgetful of why we are here in the first place, why we are living in shacks in the first place, why we are so congested in the first place, why we have these other pills and medications and other, why are they here? We seem to neglect all of that why, when we seem to direct that energy towards ourselves. And
Yeah, so those are very powerful
big questions
to have, and I don't have the answer to it all, but I'm gonna try and contribute.
I like that. Yes,
I want to contribute.
That's what we can do, is have a conversation
towards some form of an answer, which may not necessarily be complete.
I'm sure it is.
But you see, I have transcended the stage of looking at people as black, white, green, gold.
Yes.
I am at a point in my life where I'm looking at humanity as one. As a people, and I'm not doing that and ignoring the experiences of the different races of people, because we all had different experiences as different nations. As some people were enslaved, some were control masters, and I transcended that incognizance of the history of the different people. Now, when it comes to perceiving humanity as one and asking the question, why are we cruel, right? It goes back to those experiences as individual races. Because remember, we carry, as human beings, as we are seated here, through a study of genetics, right? They have established that every individual carries a memory of about 500 years of memory of your ancestors.
Yeah.
Right? And if you think about 500 years back,
Yes.
you were not here. Obviously, you're not
course.
even a thought.
Yeah,
Your parents, your great-great, they were not here. So many generations before you, you carry that memory in your DNA. So because of the experiences that people went through in different, through their different races and in their different experiences, we as this generation, we carry those traumas in our DNA. So these traumas gets activated according to your own life experiences.
Yeah.
So if you are seated here and you are going through life experiences that are very violent and very traumatic, you know, through, and we will all go through challenges.
Yeah.
Those traumas of your ancestors then gets activated and then you act them out. That is why sometimes you'll find a person saying, I don't even know what made me do that.
Yes.
So you acted out something that was beyond your own control, something that is in your own memory,
Yes.
in your DNA memory.
Yes.
And that's what then led me to realize my ability to read DNA memory.
Yes.
Whereby I then facilitate for the dissolution and integration of the memory into your life in a manner that it does not cripple or disable you.
Yes.
And help you to facilitate your own healing.
Yes.
Right? So we carry a memory of our ancestors in our DNA, of their experiences, and we act them out according to what our experiences then activate
Yeah.
in that memory.
That's
right?
interesting, yeah.
So we are not, we are created perfect.
Yes.
We are created holy,
Yeah.
pure and perfect. But because of the shift in perception about life and because of our relationship with other aspects of ourselves, nature, God, whoever you want to think of as a higher power, we then started separating, seeing ourselves separate from the creative force
Yes.
that we call by all these other names. And because of that separation, then we started feeling vulnerable and then we started wanting to secure survival. So it's the survival instincts in us that then created us to start thinking for myself,
Yes.
to protect myself against something, to fend for myself, to eat, to have this. And that attitude evolved over the years as we became even more inventive and invented more material things that we all then started aspiring to.
Yes.
So it's a myriad of issues that then contribute to a mental and emotional state of being.
Yes.
Right? That causes us to act in a particular way. Because if you think, okay, I'm unemployed, right? And I can kill somebody to steal their car. Yes, it's your thought at that moment, but it is informed by some violent memory that you carry. That is why it will be easier for you to kill because there's that memory of killing in you. And remember also, as a people, as Black people, our history, we have so many battles that were fought between. So we carry the memory of those battles, the violence, the trauma. We carry it within our DNA.
How do we cleanse it then?
So that is very important to then cleanse it. And it's very simple. It's not dramatic. We speak to it. You speak. Remember, our bodies are made of 70-80% water.
Yes.
Water carries memory. So the memories of our ancestors are carried in our cells.
Yes.
So water carries memory, and water, I will one day demonstrate how this works practically, with an instrument that I have.
Yeah.
So water carries memory. So every day, when you wake up in the morning and you're intentional about cleansing this violence through your DNA, you just speak it into life. One of the things you can say is to say, I release all memories of violence in my energy, in all dimensions and timelines, known and unknown. if you do that, you'll even start feeling different yourself. So it's as simple as that.
Wait, you
It's-
speak in the water.
You can have a cup of water, or you can just sit and speak to your water in your body.
Okay.
Your cellular
Okay,
water.
got it,
Right?
got it.
So remember, our body is made up of cells. We have
Yes.
got water, blood, all the
Yes.
fluids, it's water.
It's water,
So
yes.
if you speak life into your being,
Yeah.
you are actually clearing and cleansing that memory. As simple as that.
I like that.
So to answer your question, we are not born violent, we are not born cruel. We learn those things because of, one, the memory that we carry, two, response to our own physical experiences and traumas that we don't process.
What are sort of the commonalities or the things that usually activate the thing that you're talking about that is in us? What are the things that sort of activates that cruelty?
They need to survive.
They need to survive.
They need to survive.
Yeah.
They need to protect yourself
Yeah.
and secure your own existence.
Yeah.
Like I use an example to say, if you're unemployed and the only way you see yourself earning something to get money to eat is through crime,
Okay.
then, but that's something, you don't have to respond to that thing. You can actually transcend that memory by speaking differently, making a different choice.
I have another submission to that, and understand it is like this idea of like the need to survive, but I think at its core, and dare I say, like I figured something out, but I think at its core is this idea of lack or fear of lack.
Yes,
I
fear.
think people need to know that there is abundance of everything.
Definitely.
Nothing sort of depletes. So once you think that things will end, you will do two things. You will act without thinking. You will hoard, which is specifically like what corruption is. These people have enough money to live just normal human life, but because they're thinking it's something that requires, that will deplete, that life will deplete, whatever money will deplete, they sort of hoard it, and hoarding it then creates greed and creates other stuff. But the first thing I found is this idea of lack, right? This impatientness of like the thing, your turn is coming, right? Once you plant something and you doesn't see it growing, you see someone next door feeding off their fruits, you would want to then go steal their fruits. Why else you could have waited?
That's so
right?
true.
The fear of lack, I found that is just the source of humans' problems. In fact, it's not even like, it's not unique to humans. I think it's also present in other animals, right? If you put like a leopard in a chicken coop, tomorrow you'll find it has killed all the chickens, but it has eaten one. Because
survival instincts.
Yes,
It kills because it needs to survive.
Yes, but also it kills.
But that's their nature.
Yeah.
Human beings are not designed like
yes,
that.
we should just know that more. There is abundance of everything, and that helps because then you approach the world knowing that your things are already there, your prayers are already answered, and this idea and fear of lack shouldn't be the thing that dictates. Even even our white neighbors, the fact that they left their countries to go source out things has caused this idea that we are lacking of something.
Okay. We need to have another part two to have a conversation about this. But thank you so much, Masai, for coming and sharing your perspective on life with us. I just want to ask you one last question. What does living my frequency maybe mean for you? What does it mean for you?
Creating art, being an artist. I've always been an artist. I love being an artist. I love creating art. I love consuming art, being around artists. And then going back to the first conversation we had in the beginning, link me being an artist and all the other things I was saying about archiving and documenting and all of that thing.
Yeah.
So link those two together, and that's sort of like my frequency for sure.
Okay, and if anybody wants to get in touch with you. I understand you also you do commissioned work,
Yeah.
where you can
For sure.
offer services to do portraits and so forth.
Yeah.
So please share with us your contact details so that anyone who's interested in your art can maybe also
For sure.
contact you, and we'll have them displayed on the
Yes.
screen. And please, okay,
No, go
continue.
on.
Continue.
Oh, Masai Sipuru. You can find it on, that's my email, masaisipuru@gmail.com.
Okay.
Then if you want any other access, Masai Sipuru on Google, it will take you to Instagram, Facebook, Substack, Twitter, whatever. Just Google Masai Sipuru.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Masai, for joining us. I hope we can have another session where we can go deeper and
sure.
and explore the questions, because I'm sure the questions that you have, many other people do have those
the same
questions.
questions.
And it's very important to pause and reflect and really seek clarity, and also to understand that, like you say, we have abundance within us. Even the questions that you are asking, you have the answers within you. It's just that sometimes, because of fear, we are scared to go deeper because we don't know what we're going to find. So thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much, Tribers. I hope this conversation has activated something in you, some curiosity in you, to want to know more about yourself, to know more about life, and to also reflect on the beliefs that you hold on your limitations. We are abundant beings. We have enough within ourselves. We have potential to create the life that we desire, the life that we are designed to live according to the source, the creator that lives within us. The spark that is within us is waiting to glow up, to blow up, so that we become what we are meant to become as creations of the great force that we call by so many names. So thank you. Until next time, bye-bye and be blessed.